Hey riders, Eric Lang with Ride Adventures here. Also with me are two of our lead instructors in Pahrump, Nevada here at our training center. Got Brian McKenzie and Jeff Jones with me as well. And so, yeah, a little overdue is sort of an introduction to our training facility here in Pahrump. And as well, the guys, unless you've come to actually train with them, you might not have seen or met them in person yet. But yeah, it was about a year ago we landed this opportunity to develop our training center here in Pahrump, just a bit west of Vegas, right in between Death Valley National Park and Las Vegas itself. We're straddled by BDR routes on both sides. We've got rental bikes, the training facility just outside, and we'll show you a bunch of footage for that so you can see what's going on. But riders are coming in, learning fundamentals through our ADV 1 course. And then if they want to come back and do further levels of training in our ADV 2 course, and hone their skills even further, we have that option. But yeah, wanted to, in addition to letting you get to know the guys here a bit, go through some questions that we see people, some thoughts to help your training go better. The first thing I think I was going to say was, what was one thing we wish that people were doing in preparation for their training experience with us?
One of the things we notice in our training is that folks kind of come in and maybe they haven't been on a bike in a while. We've had some folks come in with hadn't been on the bike in 40 years and don't quite understand the bikes are heavy. We're going to be very slow work. It's going to be a lot of physicality involved. And that's probably not the best way to show up. Do some walking, do some light physical activity, just so your body's ready. It could be really hot, it could be really cold. Just have a little bit of physicality in your life so that you don't show up off the couch, is kind of how we put it, where it's eating bonbons and donuts, watching SpongeBob SquarePants, and the next thing you know, you're on a 450-pound bike. So yeah, that's kind of what we're looking at.
And those bikes do get dropped a couple times during training. People had picked up, but we teach how to proper technique and how to pick them up and everything.
Jeff, our muscle man here, likes picking up bikes, but I don't know that he likes picking them up.
I'm exhausted by the end of the day as well.
So yeah, we're all putting out a lot of effort. So the least amount of time we can spend picking up a bike because somebody can't pick it up and they're exhausted, that helps us out too.
Preconditioning would be our best first suggestion.
Yes, best first suggestion.
So by the way, I'm up in our Bend facility. We have a training facility in Bend, Oregon, and also here in Pahrump. And I don't get down here to see what the guys are doing quite as often as I would like. But is there something that you see regularly, a mistake people are showing up with?
Yeah, either a lever position and especially rear brake position seems to be kind of adventure bikes aren't great at the rear brake in the best of conditions. And if that brake pedal isn't adjusted so that it's easy to get to and it's effective, then it's even less effective when we're training. So this weekend we had some folks that had the levers just basically parallel with the ground, so they're straight out, which is great when you're sitting, but as soon as you stand up, it puts a kink in your wrist, and then your fine motor control kind of goes out the window. And that's what we're asking for, is fine motor control, very fine control of your front brake and your clutch, those types of things. Another thing is the rear brake, because sometimes they're too high or they're too low, so you're searching for it, can't find the rear brake, or as soon as you move your foot, you're full lock in the rear. So if you can spend a little time at home and kind of get a happy medium in there, that it would help us, and it would help you with the range, get the most out of your training.
Right. So we can help you with some adjustments when you get here. But yeah, if you're a rider that's been in the first day of our training here, is to get you familiar with the standing position as well, not just seated. So think about how that works with the tibia and fibia and different angles. Going from sitting to standing, you're going to have different sort of reaches to have to make. And so experiment with that lever position ahead of time on your own if you can. If it needs to be adjusted when you get here, we can help with that, of course. But,
and Jeff here is also our range master. He is in charge of the range as well as a lot of maintenance on our rental bikes. And you can even be around to help the day before on a rental, right?
Absolutely. I'm here to help them in any way they need to, as far as clutch position, front brake position, rear brake position, all those kind of things. And you can manipulate the bike to fit the training.
And you're pretty open if they want to contact you, like during the week, an email or something, set something up a little more formal, meet you at a certain time.
Absolutely. I'm only 2 miles from here, so it works out pretty well.
Let's talk about gear. He's talking about brand new gear. Showing up to training with brand new gear. Who did we have a couple training cycles ago? That brand new pair of very expensive boots had never been worn before, and that was a struggle bus. Unable to manipulate the foot controls because the boots don't bend. And I actually have a brand new pair of boots at home right now that I didn't take yesterday because I didn't want to deal with the whole I'm going to wear those around the house for a couple hours and get them broke in. So do you have a break-in method, Jeff, that you like for new boots?
Yeah, I just wear them around the garage. I do 10,000 steps a day, just walk around the garage. So wear those boots all day long if you can, a couple hours at a time, because that'll help. Of course, it'll help with your hot spots.
And so what's a hot spot? Because not everybody knows.
It's a sore spot. It's a potential blister area in your foot, your heel area, your toe area, whatever. So as you're working through those, it gets hot. You take it off, take a break, put it back on, and then you won't have those issues when you are actually training, and you can focus on the training versus potential injury or soreness. And also get them wet, and then walk them until they're dry. That works out really well.
An hour or so cutting the lawn in your boots at home, or walking around the grocery store or whatever.
And a lot of the places you order boots from, or clothing in general, have a return policy. So if you don't like it, if you put the boots on, you walk around for 10 minutes, you're like, wow, this boot's too narrow, my foot's too wide, those types of things. That's an opportunity to pack that brand new boot up and you get something else that doesn't have that. So take advantage of those with these suppliers, that if they offer a return policy for free, get the boot that fits and feels comfortable. Jackets is another thing that comes up. Like I have a climb jacket, you've got climb gear, you have climb gear. One of the things I noticed is my jacket has all my protection in it, and it is removable. And we live in the desert. Jeff and I go out in the desert every once in a while, and it's a hot day, and I don't want to take that jacket, or it starts out cold and I want to take the jacket off. But if I do that, I lose my protection. So I have a padded jersey, and I have the same kind of pads that are in my jacket. They're in my jersey. So now my temperature control doesn't mean I get rid of my protection.
We've talked about this in other videos you've seen probably for years. I've been touting like armor systems that are separate from your jacket, because I never want to be on a bike without having my bones and skeleton protected. Lots of different systems out there to make sure you're at least still protected, but hopefully not in a sweltering jet.
Well, and then, of course, the most common in motorcycles and most common injuries, your knees and your ankles.
Right.
But this last BDR I did, 2 guys fell and they broke their collarbone. You cannot neglect your upper body as well.
Right. And then even small things like gloves. Jeff talked about hot spots, that it isn't regulated to just your boots. Your gloves can make a spot where you get possibly a blister, or they're too tight, or they're too loose, or sometimes gloves expand when you sweat. So they start out great, and then halfway through the ride, now they've gotten loose because they're full of sweat, and now you're rubbing and making blisters. So any chance you have to put on that gear, walk around the house, grab a hammer, knock a nail into a board, whatever those things are, that you can try that gear out, so that when you come to training, you're not ditching protection or overheating, or find out, oh, these boots are terrible.
Absolutely. Go with your helmet as well.
Helmet, essential, same issues. What about it? Is there any other gear you can think of that has some quirks to it?
Just maintain your body heat, being able to open vents and you get some air in there, because it gets pretty warm down here. And plus you're working really hard, so you're going to be exerting yourself and using a lot of water. So hydration is another one, obviously.
Yeah, we're scheduling our training here in Southern Nevada. I guess it's kind of southern for the optimal times of year, July and August. A little serious around here, but you'll see training dates available on our web store through more comfortable months of the year.
How about luggage? Luggage on the bike when you come to training?
Yeah, it would be best to do your training without your luggage.
At least Saturday. Jeff, you just had a recent experience with a student that kept the luggage on for Saturday.
Just be able to get the fundamentals down before we start dealing with all this extra bulk and weight. It gets to be very cumbersome, what we're trying to do with the bikes. But once you have the skill, fundamentals, right? And then once we get the fundamentals up, then we can start loading the bike up as far as bulk and weight. And then, of course, you run in the risk of hurting yourself, twisting an ankle, twisting a knee with that extra luggage, especially if it's low on your pannier. So if we can get rid of that for at least the first day, at least Saturday, and where we're doing all our fundamental training. Once that's done, we can help you take it off the luggage. We can store it for you while you're here, or whatever you need for it to happen.
Yeah. And then on Sunday, if you want to run the luggage and get some experience out actually on a ride with luggage with these new set of skills, then that's an option too. And some folks take advantage of that, and some like to keep the bike a little naked and have a little extra fun riding because they know they don't have to pack a bunch of gear. So whatever works on that. So try to have your luggage off for the Saturday training, I would say.
Hey, riders, if you like these sun shirts that you've maybe seen my fellow instructors and I wearing when we're out there at the training center, click the link on the screen or in the description, and you'll see the opportunity to buy these on our web store. Also, watch out for promotional opportunities where this could be included with any purchase from our web store.
Things that come up that you probably would know is like, where do you put your gear when you are here, right? So you can see we're in this little storage area. It's where we store our bikes. And if you need to drop some gear for the weekend because you're staying in a motel and maybe you brought your own bike, we can help you stow some gear if you don't necessarily want to keep it in your motel. If you're not going to stow it here, have a place to stow it that you don't have to bring it to the range unless you want to.
I mean, we're getting local riders coming out from Vegas and everything, but a lot of folks are also flying in for this experience, and then they're not just renting bikes from us for the training, but they're renting to go out and do some riding for a couple of extra days. So yeah, if you have excess luggage that you don't need during a couple of extra riding days around the area, we can help you out.
Yep, and that would just be something to contact Jeff because he's in charge of that, the facility and the storage areas and those types of things. Just make sure Jeff's on your program, that you guys have a plan.
Right. Don't let a logistical issue keep you from coming to training. So
Yeah.
call us ahead of time, a couple of days would be great, and we'll figure it out. We'll make it happen because we want you here and we want you part of the ADV community.
We say this in training a lot, but this is a kind of group training environment, which I think is very helpful, that you have someone to talk to, you have instructors, you have other riders, you have different experiences. But at the end of the day, this is an individual training, right? This is about you getting better with your motorcycle at the end of the day. So just kind of keep that in mind. And I know Jeff says it, Patrick, he's not here today, he couldn't make it, but we're going to tell you, ride your own ride. So when you're out on these rides with us, when you're in training, get the most out of it you can. And on the Sunday rides, we do about a 100-mile ride with the whole group. And that is your ride. However fast you go, however slow you go, we're not going to leave you behind. We're going to mark the corners. We're going to make sure that you get back safely. You're going to get the most out of your ride. If you have any kind of intimidation factor going where you're like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to fit in with the group, you are going to fit in with the group. Yeah, that's well said.
Overlying message I would like to extend to all adventure riders out there is that, yeah, eventually you do end up in these groups and you'll find people to ride with, but no matter what, you got to be able to dial it back and check yourself and say what is and what isn't in your comfort zone of it.
Right.
Whether it's the pace, the type of terrain you're on, it's hard to say no sometimes and be the one that backs off, but sometimes that slowest turtle is the one that wins the race because there were no crashes involved,
Exactly.
no injuries, and so being prudent, I guess you used to say.
Yeah, the old saying, discretion's the better part of valor, right? Get out of your comfort zone for 10 seconds. If you see a spot on the trail or something's going on and you're like, hey, this looks pretty cool, but I'm not really comfortable doing any faster than I'm going, well, just do it for 10 seconds and see how it feels to go 5 miles an hour faster. And if 10 seconds is too much, 5 seconds is okay. 3 seconds is okay. Just to push the limit a little bit, experience that. How does the bike feel? How do my controls feel?
Circling back to the thought of bike ergonomics and fitting, we touched on how lever positions and stuff will help you with that if you haven't figured it out for yourself before you get here.
Right.
But the other big bike fitting issue I see is that riders are choosing bikes that are perhaps too big for them.
Right.
Especially if you have never been on one of these adventure bikes before, assuming that you're okay. Just because the specs on the Yamaha Tenere 700, I think it says 32.7 inches for the seat height. Just because that sounds like a number you can stand over doesn't mean, until you've actually stood over a big, tall, heavy adventure bike, double check yourself. I'm always encouraging people to go to your local dealer, find a local bike somehow before you fly in and find out that, wow, these can be taller than it looks like on paper or whatever. So really to and maximize your experience. I would always rather have somebody train on a bike that is too small for them a little bit,
right,
than too big. Let's just say that.
I mean, tires matter in that sense, right? So that seat height is with the stock tires. If you're on a bike that is changed tire brands, they
Put up a little bit there.
bump that measurement around a little bit, make it a little more uncomfortable. That's definitely something to watch out for.
And then you add, maybe you check yourself on that bike at your local dealer on the showroom floor on pavement or whatever, but what's that going to be like when you have low spots around and things that aren't always flat and level? And so check yourself carefully. And if anything, if you're considering 2 bikes to reserve, perhaps lean toward the smaller of the two.
Right.
If there was any doubt.
one of the questions we do get asked quite a bit is we get asked about bikes. Jeff and I happen to be KTM guys. That's the bike that we love to ride right now. And it's not that the Tenere is worse or better. I think that the best bike anybody can own is the one they just can't wait to ride.
Yeah, good way to put it.
Right? I don't care who makes it. I don't care what its specs are. If you are pining at home to go get on that bike and ride it, it's the perfect bike.
The opposite of that is people that have bought a bike that's too big for them, and now it's sort of, it gets shied away from a garage, and I've seen that before. It's unfortunate.
We just talked to a student this morning that had that same experience. I think she went through 5 or 6 bikes, and at the end of the day, it's not that they weren't capable. They intimidated her, that she wasn't comfortable. She wasn't just ready to run out there and jump on it. She had a thought process, whereas the bike she's on now, she is off on her way to another bike. She's going to go do some more riding because she can't wait to get on that bike. She loves it so much. And it's not a big bike, but it's not the smallest bike either. It's a dual sport bike, but she's got it set up for ADV, and she loves to ride it. So for her, that's the best bike in the world.
You limit your experience too, because if you get a big bike, you can't pick it up on your own. So you always have to go out with your friends. Some of the best experiences I've had have been by myself, and if you can't pick up your bike, you can't go out by yourself. So take that into consideration.
Absolutely. And then manipulating a big bike like that, right? Like you have a 1290.
I do.
And that is not the same as your 7 or your 890 or your 790, right? I mean, your thought process about the terrain you're going to cover is different on that 1290 than it is on the 890, right? So having a smaller bike may be opening up more venues for you to go out and have more fun. This weekend, we talked about steering dampeners, and I generally talk about steering dampeners in every class because a lot of bikes, we had a student that was on a KLR 300, and there was quite a bit of head shake in the loose gravel. A lot of that had to do with suspension, which I would be my first change, my first upgrade is to get the suspension done and get this a lot that a new rider says, well, I'm not good enough to need suspension upgrade. And it's not that you're upgrading the suspension, you're actually dialing it in, like getting the right tire, getting the right handlebars, getting the right equipment for camping, getting the right luggage for you. Suspension is that as well. It comes stock for generally 160-pound intermediate riders. How's the bike set up? And if you're not 160 pounds with an intermediate skill level, that suspension isn't right.
If you've changed the geometry of your bike,
Correct.
Because you're heavier than that 160, like Max said, that's going to unravel a bunch of handling issues like head shake.
Yeah, and I think of it like a teeter-totter, right? So the rider is the balance point in the middle of that suspension setup because you have springs on the front and the rear. And if they're not set up right, you're now moving your rider position on that teeter-totter, trying to make up the difference, which now is unsettled the bike. You're unsettled the balance, which is what we teach. It's all about being balanced in that motorcycle. And so my first thing I would tell a brand new rider, even if you've never ridden an off-road bike before, suspension. And then we talked about steering dampeners. So once the suspension's kind of set, you've got that balanced platform, get some head shake. Steering dampener just is a mechanical advantage to help keep those bars where they need to be pointed straight. If you have questions, especially if you have already done training or looking at training, be able to send Jeff, myself, Patrick, you, whoever, some questions, emails. We can help you out with that kind of stuff.
Easy to find us through the website. You'll see the forms to contact us, and we'll be doing our best to get back to you as soon as we can. But yeah, like the guys said, love to have you out here. We love the type of feedback that we're getting from these training programs. Are obviously helping riders get stronger, more confident, which means more miles and more smiles to me.
Absolutely. Get out there and enjoy it.
Oh yeah, thanks from Jeff Jones, Brian McKenzie, and myself, Eric Lang. Thanks for watching, everyone, and write in, and we'll talk to you soon. We'll see you here at training.